Most people think discipline is about willpower. They think it's about gritting your teeth, white-knuckling through discomfort and somehow forcing yourself to do things you don't want to. Through sheer mental strength, and that's exactly why most people fail. Discipline isn't about willpower. Willpower is finite willpower. Runs out willpower is what weak people rely on because they don't understand how the human mind actually works. Real discipline is about systems. It's about psychology. It's about rewiring your brain and restructuring your environment so that the right actions become inevitable. By the time you finish this audiobook, you will not be the same person. That's not motivation speaking. That's neuroscience. Every strategy I'm about to share with you will physically change your brain. You will physically change your brain. You will break old patterns that have kept you stuck. You will build an unshakable foundation of discipline. Method will serve you for the rest of your life. But here's what this is not. This is not another feel-good self-help book that tells you to believe in yourself. This is not about positive thinking or motivation. This is about cold hard systems that work whether you feel like it or not. This is about forcing compliance from your self-fulfilling, proven psychological principles that the most successful people in the world use every single day. If you're tired of starting and stopping, if you're sick of setting goals and never following through, if you're done being disciplined yourself, and this is your solution. But only if you're ready to do the work and if you're ready to completely transform how you operationally, if you're ready to join the small percentage of people who actually follow through in what they say they're going to do. Chapter 1: Discipline Delusion That's Keeping You Weak. Lead me destroy the biggest lie you've been told about discipline. You've been programmed to believe that discipline is about fighting yourself, that it's about forcing yourself to do things you haven't. That successful people are just better at suffering than you. This is complete nonsense. It's the reason why 99% of people never develop real disciplineers. The truth that no one wants to tell you is not about willpower. Discipline is not about motivation. Discipline is not about being tougher or stronger than other people. Real discipline is about understanding human psychology and using it to your advantage. It's about designing systems that make the right choices automatic. It's about creating an environment where success is inevitable. Failure becomes nearly impossible. Think about the people you admire most. Athletes who train every single day, entrepreneurs who work when others sleep, artists who create masterpiece while others scroll social media. You really think they wake up every morning excited to do hard things though? You think they never feel lazy, ever feel unmotivated, never want to quit? Of course they do. Their human difference is they don't rely on feelings to drive their actions. They've built systems that operate independently of how they feel. They've created structures that force them to take the right actions even when every part of them wants to do something else. This is what I call the discipline operating system, and it's the foundation thought everything else builds up. And most people are running their lives in outdated software. They're using willpower when they should be using systems. They're trying to muscle through resistance. One, they should be eliminating it entirely. First step to real discipline is understanding that you don't need to become a different person. You don't need to develop superhuman willpower. You don't need to love doing hard things. You just need to understand how your brain works and design your life according. Your brain has two primary modes of operation. Theories: the prefrontal cortex, which handles conscious decision-making, planning, and impulse control. This is your logical brain. It's smart, but it's also limited. It gets tired. It gets overwhelmed. It can only handle so many decisions. It starts to break down. Then there's your basal ganglia, which handles automatic behaviors and habits. This is your subconscious brain. It's incredibly powerful, but it's not smart. It simply executes whatever patterns you've programmed into it, good or bad. Most people try to run everything through their prefrontal cortex. They rely on conscious decision-making for every actions. Hold, I work out today. Should I eat this? Hold, I check my phone's. Hold, I do this task or that task. Be noon, their decision-making capacity is exhausted. They default to whatever's easiest. Disciplined people do the opposite. They use their prefrontal cortex to design systems. Let their basal ganglia execute those systems automatically. Don't decide whether to work out every day. They've automated the decision. They don't debate what to eat. They've already planned their meals. They don't wonder what to work and they've already structured their day. This is why motivation is used less. Motivation is trying to use your prefrontal cortex to override your natural programming at works. Temporarily, but it's not sustainably or disciplinized about reprogramming your basal ganglia so that the right actions be soon as automatic as brushing your teeth. But here's what most self-help gurus won't tell. You're building these systems requires initial discomfort. It requires you to do things that feel unnatural at first. It requires you to go against your current programming, and that's exactly what separates the disciplined from the undisciplinedest. People quit at the first sign of resistance. Try to build a new habit for a few days, feel uncomfortable, and give up. They tell themselves just not disciplined people, but discipline isn't a personality trait you're born with, it's a skill you develop through practice. The key is understanding that the discomfort is temporary, but the system is permanent. You get to benefit from it forever. You only have to go through the initial resistance once, but then it becomes effortless. This means discipline is actually the path of least resistance on most resistance. Undisciplined people think they're taking the easy path, but they're actually making their lives harder. They're constantly fighting themselves, constantly starting over, constantly dealing with the consequences of inconsistency. In a plea, people do the hard work once up front, make everything else easy. They invest in building systems that serve them for years. They endure short-term discomfort, create long-term ease. So stop thinking about discipline as a battle against yourself. Start thinking about it as an investment in yourself. Stop relying on willpower and start building systems. Stop trying to change your personality and start changing your environment. The moment you make this shift, everything becomes possible. Chapter 2: The neuroscience of forcing change. Your brain is not designed for discipline, it's designed for survival, and in the modern world, those survival instincts are working against your understanding. This is crucial because you can't fix a problem you don't understand, and you can't build discipline if you're fighting against your own biology. Let me explain what's happening in your brain when you try to be disciplinator. Limbic system, the emotional center of your brain, is constantly scanning for threats and rewards. It wants immediate gratification and safe. Cheat wants you to avoid discomfort and seek pleasure. This system is fast, powerful, and operates below conscious awareness. Your prefrontal cortex, the rational part of your brain, can override these impulses, but only temporarily and at great cost. Every time you resist an impulse, every time you choose the hard path over the easy path, or depleting what researchers call cognitive resources, is why willpower feels exhausting, literally fighting a war in your head. But here's the breakthrough that changes everything. You can reprogram your limbic system. You can train your brain to crave the things that are good for you and avoid the things that are bad for you. And can make discipline feel natural instead of force. This is called neuroplasticity. The secret weapon of every highly disciplined person. Neuroplasticity means your brain is constantly changing based on your behavior. Every time you repeat an action, you strengthen the neural pathways associated with that action. Every time you resist an action, you weaken those pathways. Your brain literally rewires itself based on what you do. Consistent lithis is why habits become easier over time. First few weeks of a new habit feel difficult because you're creating new neural pathways from scratch. But once those pathways are established, behavior becomes automatic. Your brain starts to expect that behavior and even crave it. Key is understanding how to accelerate this process. Most people try to build habits through repetition alone, but that's inefficient. You can hack your neuroplasticity. Understanding the 3 core components of habit formation: routine and reward. The cue triggers the behavior. Routine is the behavior itself. Reward reinforces the behavior and makes you want to repeat it. Most people focus only on the routine, but the real power is in optimizing the cue and reward systems. For example, if you want to build a workout habit, most people just focus on the workout itself, but the disciplined approaches to create a powerful cue thought automatically triggers the desire to work out, and a meaningful reward thought makes you crave the next workout. Cue might be laying out your workout clothes the night before, so you see them first thing in the morning. Reward might be a specific post-workout meal you only eat after exercising, or checking off a calendar that tracks your progress hour. Literally training your brain to associate working out with pleasure instead of pain. But here's where most people go wrong. They try to rely on external rewards like cheap meals or new clothes. These can work temporarily, but they don't create lasting change because they don't address the deeper. With environmental design, they focus only on their physical environment and ignore their digital and social environments. In the modern world, your digital environment might be more powerful than your physical environment. Your phone is with you, constantly feeding your brain a steady stream of information and stimulation. Apps you have installed, notifications you will loathe, content you consume it. People you follow on social media love. This is programming your brain and influencing your behavior. If you want to build discipline, you need to audit your digital environment with the same intensity as your physical environmental. Apps that waste your time and follow accounts that make you feel bad about yourself. Install apps that support your goal set. Up systems that remind you of your priorities of distracting you from your social environment is equally important. You become like the people you spend time with because humans are social creatures, is zigged to fit into groups. If your friends are undisciplined, unity and negativity will unconsciously adapt to match their behavior. Your friends are disciplined, ambitious, and positive. You'll rise to meet their standard. This doesn't mean you need to abandon your friends, but it does mean you need to be intentional about who you spend the most time with. You need to actively seek out people who embody the qualities you want to develop. You need to put yourself in environments your desired behavior is normal and expected. Most advanced practitioners of discipline create what I call total environmental alignment. Every aspect of their environment, from their physical space to their digital habits to their social circles, optimized to support their goals. They don't leave anything to chance. Because they understand that environment always wins in the long run. This might seem like overkill, but consider the alternative. Alternative is fighting against your environment every single day. Alternative is relying on will overcome constant temptation and distractions. Alternative making every day harder than it needs to. Buin, you align your environment with your goals. Discipline becomes effortless, not fighting against your surroundings, flowing with them. You're not resisting temptation. You're being guided toward better choices, or not forcing yourself to be disciplined, or designing a life where discipline is an inevitable bell chapter for the identity shift strategy. Most people try to change their behavior without changing their identity. That's why they fail. You cannot sustain actionist that conflict with yourself. Imago or brain will always move toward consistency with who you believe you are. You see yourself as an undisciplined person. To become disciplined, unconsciously sabotage your efforts. To maintain that identical change doesn't start with behavior, it starts with identity. To have to become the type of person who naturally does the things you want to. Do you have to shift from trying to act disciplined to actually being disciplined? This is the difference between temporary change and permanent transformation. Here's how most people approach change. These set a goal like losing weight or building a business. They focus on the outcome they want to achieve. They try to force behavior that will get them to that outcome, and when those behaviors feel unnatural or difficult, they give up and tell them Zalvestier, just not that type of person. Disciplined approach is exactly opposite. To start with identity. Decide who you want to become. Adopt the beliefs and values of that person. Start taking small actions that prove to yourself that you are that type of person, and then larger actions begin to feel natural and automatic. Instead of saying, I want to lose weight, you say, I am a healthy person. Instead of, I want to write a book, you say, I am a rich. Instead of, I want to be successful, you say, I am someone who executes relentlessly. Start with the identity and let the behaviors flow from that foundation. This works because of something called cognitive consistency. Brain has a powerful drive to align your actions with your beliefs about yourself. You truly believe you are a disciplined person. Disciplined behavior stops feeling like work and starts feeling like expression of who you are. But here's the key. You can't just declare a new identity and expect it to stick. Identity change requires evidence. You have to prove to you are who you say you are. Consistent action. Every small disciplined choice becomes evidence that you are a disciplined person. Every time you follow through on a commitment to reinforce your new identity. This is why starting small is so crucial. Not just building habits, building identity. If You try to make massive changes immediately, you'll fail and damage your self-image a bit. If you start with tiny action stat, you can do consistently, you'll build a foundation of evidence that supports your new identity. Let's want to become someone who exercises consistently. Didn't start by trying to work out for 2 hours every day. Start by doing 10 push-ups every morning. Because 10 push-ups will transform your body, but because doing 10 push-ups every morning proves to yourself that you are someone who exercises consistently. Time you do those push-ups, casting a vote for your new identity. A few weeks, this identity starts to feel relearned. Once it feels relearned, challenging exercise starts to feel natural. Beckos. It's consistent with who you are. Same principle applies. Any change you want to make. Want to be a reader? Read 1 page. Every day want to be a writer? Write 1 sentence. Every day want to be organized? Make your bed every morning. These tiny actions seem insignificant. They're actually the most powerful tool for identity transformation. But identity shift isn't just about proving things to yourself, it's also about changing the story you tell yourself about who you are and why you do things. Most people have disempowering stories about their past. It keep them stuck. I've never been disciplined, Eddie. Always start things and don't finish the just not a morning persona. Don't have good genetics. These stories feel like facts, but they're actually Choizu can choose to tell a different story about your self, and that new story will create new possibilities. Powerful identity shift happens. You stop identifying with your past failures and start identifying with your future potential. Instead of I'm someone who struggles with discipline, I am someone who is developing incredible discipline. Instead of I always quit to say I'm learning to follow through no matter what. This subtle shift in language creates a completely different relationship with failure and setbacks. You identify with your past. A very failure confirms that you're not of change. When you identify with your growth, every failure becomes data that helps you improve. But here's what most people miss about identity. Work. Your identity isn't just what you think about yourself, it's also what you think about the world and how it works. If you believe discipline is supposed to be hard and unpleasant, you'll unconsciously make it hard and unpleasant. If you believe successful clear just different from you'll never fully commit becoming successful yourself. You have to examine and update your beliefs about discipline, succession, and your own capabilities. Qualities you want to develop. This means studying how disciplined people think, not just what they do. Disciplined people see challenges as opportunities to grow stronger. They see setbacks as information, not evidence of inadequacy. See discipline as freedom, not restriction. They see hard work as privilege, not burden. They see consistency as compound interest and on daily effort. When you adopt these beliefs, discipline stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like investment. You stop seeing yourself as someone who has to force discipline and start seeing yourself as someone who chooses discipline. You understand its value. With final piece of identity shift is surrounding yourself with people will see you as the person you're becoming, not the person you've been. Not their people's expectations have a powerful influence on your behavior. People expect you to be disciplined. You'll naturally rise to meet those expectations. If people expect you to quit or fail, you'll unconsciously live down to those expectations. This is why it's so important to be intentional about who you share your goals with and how you talk about your change. Don't announce dramatic transformation shift. Put pressure on you to be perfect. Insteadly embody your new identity through consistent action and let people notice the changes naturally. When you combine identity shift with environmental and neuroplasticity principles, you create an unstoppable foundation for discipline. Not fighting against who you are, expressing who you're becoming, not forcing change or allowing change to emerge from your new understanding of yourself. After 5, the systematic elimination of resistance is not your enemy. Resistance is information. Your brain's way of telling you that you're trying to do something that conflicts with your current programming. Most people try to power through resistance with willpower. But this is like trying to drive a car with the parking brake on. It's possible, but it's inefficient and unsustainable. Disciplined approaches to systematically eliminate resistance rather than fight it. This means understanding why your brain resists certain behaviors and then addressing those reasons at their source. 1. You remove the root causes of resistance. A discipline becomes effortless becomes. If there's nothing left to resistir, are 5 primary sources of resistance that keep people from building discipline. Unclear direction, overwhelming magnitude, inadequate systems. Major source of resistance. Your brain resists goals that seem too big or too difficult because it's designed to conserve energy and avoid failure. When you try to make massive changes, immediately trigger your brain's threat detection system and create internal resistance. Of solution is to make your goals so small that they feel almost ridiculous not to do them. Instead of trying to read for 2 hours every day, commit to reading 1 page. Instead of working out for 90 minutes, commit to putting on your workout clothes. Instead of writing 1,000 words, commit to writing 1 sentence. This isn't about setting low standards. This is about understanding how behavior changing actually works. Small actions build momentum, confidence, and neural pathways. You establish consistency with small actions. This can gradually increase the challenge without triggering resistance. Key is making your minimum viable action so small that you can do it even on your worst days. In good days, you'll naturally do more because you're already in motion. On bad days, you'll still maintain consistency and preserve your momentum. This approach eliminates the all-or-nothing thinking that destroys most people's disciplined systems. Is the 3rd source of resistance. Brain resist behavior that require constant decision making and problem solving. Every time you have to figure out what to do and to do it or how to do it to create friction that leads to procrastination. Avoidance. The solution is to systematize every aspect of your disciplined behaviors, create detailed plans that eliminate decision fatigue. Prayer. Everything in advanced SO execution becomes automatic. Build routines that chain productive behaviors together so one action naturally leads to the next. For example, don't just decide to work out regularo, like create a complete workout system. Specific exercises, exact timing, pre-part equipment, planned music, determined rewards. Rim every possible source of friction so that working out becomes as automatic. Brushing your teeth. Conflicting values is the 4th source of resistance, and it's often the most subtle. Your brain resists behaviors that conflict with your deeper beliefs about yourself, others, or how the world works. If you secretly believe that successful people are selfish, that discipline requires giving up fun, you'll unconsciously assess about your efforts to preserve your identity and value. Estes is why examining your underlying beliefs about discipline is so crucially. Might discover that you associate discipline with rigidity, deprivation, or judgment of others. You might believe that spontaneous people are more creative, that structured people are boring. These beliefs will create resistance, no matter how good your systems are. The solution is to reframe discipline in a way that aligns with your valuation. Your self discipline actually creates more freedom, not less. Understand how structure enables creativity rather than restricting itsy discipline as self-care and not self-punishment. When discipline serves your values instead of conflicting with them, resistance disappears. Insufficient motivation is the 5th source of resistance. Your brain resists behaviors that don't provide adequate reward relative to the effort required. If the benefits of discipline feel abstract or distant while the costs feel immediate and concrete, whole struggle with consistency no matter how good your intentions are. The solution is to engineer immediate rewards for disciplined behavior while making the costs of undisciplined behavior more visible and immediate. This might mean celebrating small wins, tracking progress visibly, or creating accountability systems that provide social feedback. But the most powerful form of motivation is intrinsic. You connect your disciplined behaviors to your sense of identity, competence, and autonomy becomes self-reinforcing. You don't do them for external rewards. You do them because they express who you are and help you grow into who you want to become. Advanced resistance elimination involves what I call friction auto systematic alexan every aspect of your desired behavior and identify potential sources of friction. Then you eliminate or minimize each source of friction until the behavior becomes as easy as possible. You want to eat healthy. Audit everything from grocery shopping to meal planning to cooking. To clean up you remove every possible barrier and create systems that make healthy eating's path of least resistance. You prep meals in advance. You organize your kitchen efficiently and eliminate junk food from your environment. If You want to write consistently. You audit your writing environment, your tools, your process, and your mental state. You eliminate distractions, optimize your workspace, develop templates and frameworks, and create rituals that put you in the right mindset immediately. The goal is to make disciplined behavior feel inevitable rather than effortful. When you systematically eliminate resistance, you don't have to rely on will. There's nothing left to resist. Right actions become the natural actions because you've removed all the barriers that were making them difficult. Resistance is not a character flaw, it's a design problem. Instead of trying to overcome resistance through force self, the problems that create resistances, instead of fighting your brain, work with it. Instead of making discipline harder, make it easier. When you approach resistance as information rather than opposition, it becomes a valuable guide for building sustainable discipline. Chapter 6. The momentum manufacturing system. Momentum is the most powerful force in human behavior. If people completely misunderstand how to create think momentum comes from big wins or perfect days, but that's exactly backward. Real momentum comes from protecting and building on small consistency, especially when you don't feel like ithers. What most people do wrong: start strong with massive effort, burn out within days or weeks, then quit completely. They go from 0 to hero temps that inevitably crash and burn thin. They tell themselves they lack discipline. Really, they just lack understanding how momentum actually works. Momentum is not about intensity. Momentum is about frequency, not about doing something perfectly. It's about doing something consistently. A person who exercises for 10 minutes every single day for a year will be in better shape than someone who exercises a week for 2 months then quits. This is because momentum operates on compound interest principle. Small actions performed consistently create exponential results over time, but the compound effect only works if you never break. The Shane-on misday resets your psychological moment. If it doesn't eliminate your physical progress, your brain tracks consistency patterns, uses them to predict future behavior. When you maintain consistency, your brain expects continuation, makes the behavior feel more natural. When you break consistency, brain expects discontinuation, makes restart feel more difficult. This is why the most disciplined people are absolutely fanatical about maintaining streaks. They understand that a 300-day meditation streaker's psychological power that goes far beyond the cumulative benefit of 300 individual meditation sessions. Streak itself becomes a source of identity. Momentum. But here's the key insight that most people, Masayu, don't build momentum through big actions. Build it through minimum viable actions. In difficult days, day you don't feel like exercising but do 10 push-ups anyways, worth more for momentum than the day you feel great and work out for 2 hours. This is because momentum is built in the moments of resistance, are not the moments of inspiration. When you take action despite not feeling like prove to yourself that you can be disciplined draggers of circumstance. You build what I call resistance immunity, ability to act independently of your emotional state. Momentum manufacturing system operates on 3 core principles: minimum viable consistency, preservation protocols, and strategic momentum multiplication. Viable consistency identifying the smallest possible of your desired behavior thought you can maintain even on your worst days. This becomes your non-negotiable baseline. You can always do more, but you never do less than your minimum viable action. If your goal is to write a book, your minimum viable action might be writing one sentence. If your goal is to build a business, it might be making 1 sales call. If your goal is to get in shape, it might be doing 1 push-up. These actions seem trivial, but they preserve the psychological pattern of consistency that momentum requires. Momentum preservation protocols or systems you use to maintain streaks. When life gets difficult, you plan in advance for obstacle setbacks and challenging days. You create backup plans, simplified versions, and emergency protocols that allow you to maintain consistency when normal execution isn't possible. For example, if you normally work out at the gym for an hour, your momentum preservation protocol might be doing body weight exercise. Sit at home if you can't get to the gym. If you normally write for 2 RCR protocol might be writing for 10 minutes. In your phone, if you're traveling, is having predetermined response. Predictable obstaculation. You face resistance or unexpected challenges. You don't have to make decisions or rely on willpower. You simply execute your momentum preservation protocol and Maintain your strategic momentum multiplication S about using existing momentum to build new habits and behavior sets. You have solid momentum in one area. You can leverage that psychological confidence to tackle bigger challenger, additional habit. Ariastis works because momentum creates a positive identity. Feedback loop when you see yourself as someone who follows through consistently in one area. You start to expect the same consistency from yourself in other areas. The discipline you build exercising transfers to discipline with nutrition. You maintain high standards not just because they serve you but because they serve others who are watching and learning from your example. But legacy creation requires balancing achievement with sustainability. Most inspiring examples of discipline. People who maintain excellence over decades, not people who burn brightly for months then flame out. This means building discipline systems that enhance rather than deplete your life. Energy systems that make you stronger rather than wearing you down. Systems that create more opportunities for others rather than just serving your individual goals. Ultimate integration of discipline masteries. When disciplined behavior becomes so natural thought, it doesn't feel like discipline anymore. It feels like self-expression. It feels like freedom. It feels like the most natural way to live. When you reach this level, you understand that discipline was never about restriction or force. It was about creating the capacity to live according to your deepest values and highest aspirations. It was about becoming the person you always knew you could be. Most people never experience this level of integration base. They treat discipline as a temporary project rather than a lifelong practice. They try to get discipline, then become disciplined. They focus on specific goals rather than comprehensive transformation. But when you commit to true discipline mastery one, you integrate all these principles into a cohesive way of bind of everything. Changes your capacity, confidence grows your impact, increase your life becomes a masterpiece of intentional designal, then accidental circumstance or a misbore is not something you do, it's someone you become. It's not about forcing yourself to act different. About becoming the type of person who naturally acts in disciplined waste frameworks. In this audiobook care, not just techniques to try our principles to embody. Fifth goal is not temporary behavior change, it's permanent identity transformation. Outcome is not just achieving your goal sets, becoming the type of person who consistently achieves whatever goals matter. Mastu now have everything you need to force yourself to be disciplined, not through willpower or motivation but through systems, identity, environment, and integration. The question is not whether these principles worked, question is whether you will work them. Your disciplined life starts now, not tomorrow, not next week, not when circumstances are perfect. Right now, with the next choice you make, next action you take, the next opportunity to prove to yourself who you really are. Discipline is not about perfection. Disciple is about direction, and the direction you choose in this moment will determine everything that follows.